Hi friends, welcome to Body by Julianne. I'm Julianne, a certified personal trainer, here to serve you health and wellness from the perspective of a personal trainer. And today we're going to be talking about reading a nutrition label. So, I'm a certified personal trainer. I am not a registered dietitian. Everything that I preach when it comes to nutrition comes from the perspective of a personal trainer through knowledge that I got from a certified personal trainer nutrition track, as well as educated peer journals and my own personal life experience. So, without further ado, let's get to it. When it comes to reading a nutrition label, I, for the longest amount of time, didn't really know how to do it. I'm someone who, I think like many people, just looked at the nutrition label, looked at calories, said, okay, that's low, we're good, and then went on my way. So, as I got a little bit older, got a little bit more educated, and went through ACE, I really had to discover what was really right. So, today we're going to be going through every single part of a nutrition label. We're going to dissect it and then answer the question, is it nutritious? Before we get to it, we're going to take it back, way back, to the history of nutrition labels. Oh, I think we need some help. We need some help? Oh, okay, hold on, one second. Hello. I'm here to give you some history. So, when it comes to the history of food labels, in 1970, that's when there was a surge in processed food. Because of that surge in processed food, we required nutrition labels. On these nutrition labels were things like calories, protein, carbs, recommended daily allowance, but what we didn't have were things like sodium, things like saturated fat, things like polyunsaturated fat. Companies took advantage of this and used ambiguous claims like low in saturated fat, just to attract customers. So, in 1990, Congress passed the Nutrition Labeling and Education Act, giving the FDA power. And with this power, they were able to decide what was going on in these nutrition labels. They fixed it. They fixed it real good. In 1993, we were good. In 2003, we were better, because in 2003, trans fat over 0.5 was required to be included on the nutrition label. And what this did was eliminate a lot of trans fat production. And we're going to talk about trans fat. It's not good. Now, when it comes to the serving size, that and calories are put on a much bigger font. But the thing about serving size is not what we should eat, it's what we do eat. Are you confused? Was that confusing? Oh, I'm sick of this. I've done enough. You know what? I'm out of here. Get out of here. Ah! I'm really sorry about her. I'm sorry. She gets angry sometimes, which I'll clear this up for you. I'll clear this up. So, serving size isn't really what we are supposed to be eating. It is now this thing that people put serving size as what people are likely to consume in one sitting. So, serving size is a nice thing to kind of use to kind of gauge certain things. It's more helpful to kind of help you calculate how much is actually in what you're eating, rather than how much you should be eating. Because your body's gonna know when you're full, and when it comes down to it, we're all different people. Someone who's much bigger than me is gonna need to consume more than me. Someone who's much smaller than me doesn't need to eat as much as I do. And it also depends on how much you work out. All of that stuff, matters. So, serving size, it's important, but not always for the reasons that you think. When it comes to what we're going to be going through, we are going to be reading the nutrition label of the breakfast bar called An Apple Walks Into a Bar. Isn't it fun? Really clever? I think it's very clever. I like it. So, this thing, An Apple Walks Into a Bar, I'm going to show a nutrition label on the screen here, and we're going to analyze this puppy. So, this is a bar that you can find at Trader Joe's. We are going to go through each aspect of this nutrition label, and then we are going to answer the question, is it nutritious or not? Let's begin. So at the top we have calories. So when it comes to calories, especially on things like this, the calories are usually going to be small. I think we have about 140 calories here. That's considered low. When it comes to like anything in the 100 range, that's considered to be pretty low in calories. Once it gets to 400 plus, that's when it's considered to be high for a snack like this. So we have 140, we're in a good place, good zone. But what it's really about is what is inside these calories. Calories are a combination of the fat, the carbs, and the protein. Those three things are what our calories consist of. So we're going to go through each of these things, plus the other subcategories, and see what we're working with. Beginning with fat. So fat is not bad, like it's not straight up a bad thing. There are good fats, good healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, things like that, good healthy fat. But when it comes to fat, the thing about it is a calorie dense thing. And what that basically means, you have something that's calorie dense versus something that's nutrient dense. Something that's nutrient dense is really built to just straight up help you. Having a lot of it isn't going to do too much to you. If you have something that is calorie dense, having a lot of it is bad. So you don't want to have too much fat. Saturated fat is something that contributes to raising your blood cholesterol, which is something that we don't want. So that's something we definitely want to limit. You will have a lot of things in terms of food that will have saturated fat. As long as it's not a large quantity, you should be fine. You really want to limit trans fat. The reason we don't limit trans fat is because yes, it is also something like saturated fat that can heighten blood cholesterol levels, but it also is that thing that starts off as a liquid and then hydrogen is put into it, turning it into a solid. It is incredibly bad for you. I call it the devil. Yeah, we don't like trans fat. Do not consume a lot of trans fat. It's awful. It also can lead to some heart problems, especially heart disease. So limit your trans fat, have as little of that as possible. Honestly, if you see something with trans fat, just run away, get away. Okay. When it comes to fat, because fat is calorie dense, you take the amount of fat, multiply it by 9, and that's how you know how many calories come from fat. So in this we had 2.5, you multiply that by 9 and you get 22.5. So 22.5 calories are from fat. This label, it does have 2.5 grams of fat, but neither of the fat is saturated or trans fat, so we're looking good there. Now we have cholesterol. So cholesterol is something that if you notice you have high saturated fat, you're probably going to also have high cholesterol. They kind of go hand in hand. They're not the same thing, obviously, but cholesterol is actually a wax-like structure, and it's used for a lot of things. It's used to help regulate hormones, it's used to help in digestion, as well as vitamin D levels, but the thing is, our body actually does naturally produce cholesterol, and our body gives us what we need for it. So when it comes to the outside and getting cholesterol from food and things like that, we actually don't need it from food. You want to make sure that you have 300 milligrams or less of cholesterol, so really try to limit that cholesterol. This label has 0 milligrams of cholesterol, so we're in a good place there too. This is looking pretty good so far, y'all, but let's keep going. We're now on to sodium. Sodium. Sodium is salt, if y'all didn't know. So have a lot of salt, that's going to raise your sodium levels, and this is the thing that I would say when it comes to nutrition that people are probably struggling the most with, because salt, so damn good, it's so good, so delicious, but it's not the best for us. You want to limit your sodium intake to 2,300 milligrams a day. And it can be very easy to go over that, but it's really just finding little ways to kind of limit that sodium. And there are many ways you can limit your sodium. I'm also going to have a video on that, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, so this actually has 75 milligrams of sodium in it, so we're at a good level there. It's not going to be something that if you were to take this bar and then have 5 of them, you're not going to, be overloading your sodium for the day. So that's a nice thing. Next we have carbs. Carbs are that tricky thing. A lot of people, when it comes to diets and nutrition, a lot of people think that carbs are the enemy. Carbs are bad. Carbs make you fat. I don't agree with any of this. When it comes to carbs, like fat, like many other things, there are good and bad carbs. And there's a reason for carbs. There's a reason for a lot of things in our nutrition, but especially carbs. So how protein is kind of that thing that you eat it and it helps you, grow stronger, build muscle, that sort of thing. Carbs are that thing that gives you energy. If you're not consuming carbs, and you're someone who exercises and works out, and you're wondering, why am I tired? You're probably not consuming carbs or enough carbs. So when people go on diets that are no carb diets, I don't usually agree with that. I don't agree with a lot of things when it comes to dieting. We'll talk about it. We will. But when it comes to carbs, definitely consume your carbs. It's one of those things that you don't want to obviously go overload with. I think that a lot of the times people they think carbs are bad because they think about people just eating so many carbs that you know, they gain weight. And that is true. If you consume like a large amount of carbs and you're not working that off, then yes, you will gain weight. But there are a lot of good things that carbs do, and I think it is important that we make sure that we eat them. So you're gonna multiply it by 4, and then that is how many calories come from carbs. So in this nutrition label, there are 27 carbs. 27 times 4 is 108. So we have 108 calories that come from carbs, and we have 140 calories in this bar. So what that tells us is that the majority of this bar is a carb. This is a carb bar. So really now it's about, well, what are these carbs from? Carbs are divided into 2 things. So the subcategories of carbs are fiber and sugar. Now, of course, you want to have more fiber than sugar. Things like apples have great fiber. A lot of fruits and vegetables have great fiber. So when it comes to your carbs, it's really about making sure that when you are consuming your carbs, that it's nutrient dense, that you're having more fiber, less sugar. And if you are having sugar, the sugar should be natural. So now it's about going to our lower levels, seeing what it says on the rest of the nutrition label, and seeing what are our carbs consisting of. First, looking at our fiber. So, like I said, fiber is great, wonderful. Try to consume a lot of fiber. That is probably the thing that a lot of people don't consume enough of. We either don't understand where it comes from, or we just neglect it because it's easy to. It comes from our fruits and our vegetables. Eat your fruit, eat your vegetables. There's also fiber in many other things. You can also find fiber sometimes in cereals, certain ones. So really just look out for fiber, do some research on things that contain fiber, things that you like, so that you can consume it and be right in that way. Now, this breakfast bar only has 1 gram of fiber, so that's not that much. That's basically going to tell us that the carbs in this bar are mostly sugar. So when it comes to sugars are best when they're natural. Basically, that means they're not artificial. Things like apples, applesauce. I keep saying apples, but it's because I love apples. I love apples so much. But if you look at something and it has sugar in it, if most of the sugar are natural, then that means that the food that you're eating is producing that natural sugar. It has been processed or manufactured to be a different sort of sugar. There are so many different types of sugars. There's so many different names for sugars that sometimes sugar will hide. Sugar will be something and you won't even know because it doesn't say sugar. Now this label has 16 grams of sugar. 15 grams of it are artificial. So 16 grams in this bar of sugar, 15 of those grams are artificial, meaning only 1 gram of sugar is natural. So that basically is telling us that the majority of this bar has sugar in it, sugar that is manufactured, artificial, not natural, and not nutrient dense. So protein is great. I have nothing really bad to say about protein. The nice thing about protein is in this day and age, with all the different sort of lifestyles that people have of eating, you know, you can be vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, and still consume protein. Protein is in so many different things. I think for a long time people only thought that protein were in meats, but you can find it in so many other things now. And it really is something that you want to make sure that you have enough of because it's going to help you stay strong. It's going to help with your metabolism, your digestion, help you build muscle, retain muscle, and just be an overall healthy human being. There are 2 grams of protein in this bar. So for protein, that is also one that you multiply by 4, and you will find out how many calories come from protein. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 calories of this bar come from protein. Alright, so as we get to the bottom of this nutrition label, we are going to look at the actual ingredients. If you look at the ingredients, and I pulled them up here, so when it comes to ingredients, it's important to know that it goes from largest to smallest. So that first ingredient there is going to be the thing that is in most. Those first 3 ingredients are going to be the most prominent. So look at those and make sure that it's something that is good, and that'll kind of let you know if what you're eating is something that's going to be good for you or just there for you to eat and then get a headache later from it. The first ingredient in this just says apple filling, and that I don't like. I don't like when labels are nondescript like that and just say it is this. I will say luckily it has a parenthesis to say what is in that apple filling, but it says what's in the apple filling is organic cane sugar, dehydrated apples, fruit juice, concentrates. The concentrates are pineapple, pear, apple, peach. There's tapioca starch, glycerin, natural flavor, citric acid, pectin, cinnamon, locust bean gum, annatto extract. Yes. So all of that is in the apple filling, and that is the majority that's the first ingredient. The first ingredient is basically 10 ingredients. Because in the apple filling, organic cane sugar, and that kind of goes with our point of saying that sugar is what is in this most, and the first ingredient that is in this apple filling is organic cane sugar. So this is a majority sugar thing. And then you have fruit juice, but it doesn't tell you really it says fruit juice concentrates. So, and it has all the different pineapple, pear, apple, peach. So it's fruit juice concentrates, which kind of is a way of saying we have fruit juice, but you can't tell if this is natural fruit juice or if it's just juice that is artificial concentrates. So that's another kind of thing. As we go down, after that, the second ingredient is organic wheat flour. Then we have organic invert cane syrup, another sugar, organic expeller processed canola oil, organic cane sugar, more sugar, organic wheat bran, organic oat flour, organic oats, organic honey, organic non-fat dry milk, baking soda, cream of tartar, sea salt, natural flavors. When it doesn't tell you exactly what it is, that's frustrating for me, and it should be for you too, because you want to know what's in your food. We have these food labels so that we can know exactly what is in our food. If something is being nondescript with you and not telling you exactly what's in it, then that's kind of the gist of the nutrition label. What I kind of get from this label is, yes, it's a majority of sugar. It's sugar and then a lot of wheat. There's a lot of, organic this, organic that in there. Not bad, but as a nutrition label, it kind of just, isn't the best to me. Okay, so now we are here to answer the question, is it nutritious or not? And my answer is, it's not. This bar is not nutrient dense, it's more calorie dense, and the calories come from things that aren't natural or benefiting to the body. So this is really a snack that I think you would eat if you just wanted to eat something that tasted good. It's not going to really do too much for you, it probably won't fill you up, and then you're probably going to end up eating other things. So it's really something that, if I were to say, would I recommend this bar? I would not. And I will say, I have tried this bar before. It is a yummy bar, but I will say this bar never fills me up. The couple times that I have had it, it is a bar that is super yummy, super sweet, and I will say 30 minutes later I am hungry, maybe even less than that, I'm still hungry, because it didn't really do much. It's not really there too. If I had to recommend a different bar, I would go for this one right here. Okay everyone, so there we have it. That is how you read a nutrition label. I hope that you enjoyed this video, got a lot of knowledge that you might not have before, and now knowing that when you go into a store and you're looking at food, looking at the back of that label, you know exactly what you're looking for. So feel free to follow me on Instagram at @thejuliennemarie, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Have a great day and go get some sun. Bye everyone.